Hello everyone, it's Tazima here, back again with some Need for Speed Most Wanted action. Today I'm going to be talking about my first impressions and thoughts on the game and what I think about it so far, as some of my favorite highlights play in the background. Now, it is a little known fact that I am a big racing game fan because I do not upload videos on it a lot, but I am. I am especially big fan of the Burnout series and the Need for Speed series. Probably my two favorite games were Need for Speed Most Wanted for the GameCube back in like 2005, and also Burnout Revenge and Burnout Paradise that came out in 2005 and 2008 respectively. Now, both of those Burnout games were made by a developer called Criterion. So when I heard that Criterion was making the new Need for Speed Most Wanted that's coming out in fall 2012, I was super excited because Criterion definitely makes amazing racing games. Burnout Revenge, Burnout Paradise, just to name two of them, definitely some of my favorite racing games of all time. I was also a big fan of the GameCube version of the original Need for Speed Most Wanted. So seeing that it come back with kind of like a reinvigoration of the title and of the franchise Need for Speed Most Wanted was really excited for me, and getting to play it was also a great thing. Now, as soon as I started into the game, my biggest gripe about Need for Speed Most Wanted, the original one, I noticed that it was completely gone, and that would be the cheesy storyline that they put in with like the cops that are trying to stop you, and he's got like all these characters, and they give like names and faces to all the most wanted on the list, and it's like kind of like this really cheesy storyline going back and forth between you trying to become the best and all this stuff. All that stuff is gone in this new version of Need for Speed Most Wanted. It's really a great thing that I was excited to see, because it kind of gets in the way, it kind of deters like hardcore racing fans, because you're just like, oh, what is this cheesy storyline going on in the background. I'm glad to see that was gone. Also, it's really the most accessible of the games so far, because there's no more of this buying cars. You just drive up to a car that you see on the side of the road, you press Y, and then you immediately enter into the car. The only unlockable cars are the cars of the top 10 most wanted, and all you have to do is beat them and then totally wreck their car to get that car, which is a great system, I think, because you don't have to go through this thing of winning races to collect money to buy cars and to buy specializations. You get specializations and cars just by playing the game, beating races, which I think is the way that it should be. So if you want to jump into the game and jump right into a Maserati, go ahead, but if you also just want to jump into the Ford F-150 and just wreck cars by running into them, that's up to you too. You can do whatever you want. Another big thing about the game that I like to see is that it's a really nice open world environment. You can drive wherever. There's no walls stopping you going from place to place. It really reminds me of how in Burnout Paradise, Criterion really made a great open world, and this really parallels that open world, except I think it might be a little better. It has like a really dense urban city region, and then it also has kind of like a rural region around with like an interstate going around the city, and it's a really nice, because you get a straight lines to like zoom down the city, but you also get like nice curvy roads and a lot of off-road out in the outskirts of the city. As far as the gameplay goes, the gameplay is very smooth. This is probably the easiest drifting in any racing game I've ever seen. The drifting in this game is so smooth, and it's also so satisfying, and it's so easy. It's really a lot of fun. It makes the game a lot of fun to drift around corners, and then just hit that nitrous and the acceleration once you're getting out of that drift. So much fun to just gain all that speed. Speaking of speed, the sense of speed in this game is amazing. I just love going at blazing speeds around the map. And admittedly, that's probably what I'll do most of the time, is I just stand there, or rather I don't stand there, but I go as fast as I possibly can around the map, not in any particular race or any chase. I just like to go really fast and drive around and stuff, and this game really helps me like get that itch of I just want to go super fast, and this is a game that definitely gives me that satisfaction to that itch. The races and the events are well laid out, and they tell you how hard it is. So there are hard events, there are easy events. The hard events are hard, and the easy events are easy, which is a good thing. And then you got a lot of these different kind of varied events. You have your typical race where you go around 2 laps, and then sometimes it's just like in a straight line or around the city. You just gotta go and get to the place first. Sometimes it's also a cop chase mixed with a street race. I have to admit that those are my favorite kind of races, when you have about 10 cars racing, and at the same time you have police officers trying to stop you and run you off the road with like spike strips and blockades and stuff like that. That's definitely one of the most fun kind of races. Then you also have like kind of varied stuff where you have to, keep at a certain average speed the entire time you're going, so you can't like crash or you have to drift perfectly and have to get a really perfect run to get a first place spot in some of these events. Now, even though the events are great, I do just like to spend a lot of my time running away from the cops. I will get into like hour-long chases with the cops at like the highest level heat possible with like rhinos and spike strips and SWAT vans and these cars that are like crazy Corvette cruisers trying to run me off the road. I just like to really fight against the cops and go as long as humanly possible in chases. And this game really is perfect for that, in that it mirrors kind of the old Need for Speed Most Wanted, but I think it really takes the chases up a notch and makes them even more exciting and even more different, with all these different new elements of these cops trying to stop you when you get a really high level of wanted bounty or something like that, however you want to call it. And that is my favorite part of the game, definitely, is the cops. Running away from the cops, just fighting against the cops, ramming cops off the road. I mean, that's why it's called Need for Speed Most Wanted. Definitely my favorite part of the game. Not involving the storyline or anything like that, or any of the most wanted charts and trying to get the best and being #1. Just running away from the cops and like getting in cop chases and going extremely fast is just so satisfying. It's just a lot of fun. And that's just my opinion on the single player version of the game. I haven't jumped into multiplayer yet, but I know that multiplayer will kind of mimic that and be a lot of fun like that. So guys, if you're interested in racing at any, if you haven't literally played a racing game, I would say that Need for Speed Most Wanted is definitely a good jumping off point, because it's really accessible. You know, you don't have to work your way up with the bad cars to the good cars. You can just find the car that fits for you and go with that. It's a lot of fun. It's easy to play. The gameplay is really accessible. I will have a few more videos on Need for Speed Most Wanted later in the week, showcasing some of the cars and some of the cool spots and places in the game. So I hope you guys will enjoy that. Thank you guys so much for watching. As usual, Need for Speed Most Wanted, I'd recommend checking it out, at least checking it out, see if it's right for you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.